Hello and welcome to the Carbon Copy podcast Running Out of Time special. I'm Isabel Sparrow and today we're following the climate relay as it makes its way across the Midlands, stopping in Nottingham as well as at the Snow Dome in the Staffordshire town of Tamworth. Carbon Copy is the official podcast host for Running Out of Time this year, and we'd love for you to listen in to all 19 episodes that we release throughout the event. If you'd like to be amongst the first to hear inspiring stories from sports people, community groups, schools, councils and other organisations and individuals involved with the relay, subscribe now. Our first chat in this episode is with Dr Sarah Maloy, owner of Shop Zero, a zero waste store in Nottingham City Centre close to the relay route.
So my name's Sarah Maloy, Dr Sarah Maloy, and this is Shop Zero, which is a zero waste shop, a refill shop in the centre of Nottingham. And what you can do here is to come in and find out how to live a more eco-friendly life. I started the business in 2018, and I started off because my background is in sustainability and I studied environmental science. And I was always very into trying to live as eco-friendly as possible. But then I kind of got wind of the plastic crisis issues. And then I started reading a book called Zero Waste Home by B. Johnson. And I was like, oh my goodness, all these things I've been trying to do. And there's this whole tranche that's been missing, which is around the waste that we create as individuals and households and families. And so I started looking around me to try and find where I could buy food in bulk and reuse containers that I already had. Because we all have these containers at home. And I know a lot of us feel really strongly about this, that we have to go back into the supermarket each time and we're buying a new container and we haven't got the opportunity to refill it. So I started looking around for places to refill, couldn't find any. And I thought, I know what I'll do. I'll start a market. So I did a monthly market. Then I ended up doing a pop-up for a couple of months. And then that kind of transformed into a shop. So that's kind of been the journey, really. And people really got into this. I think people were feeling the same, particularly when Blue Planet came out, that people were seeing plastic in the oceans, seeing animals dying because of this. And then we've got issues around microplastics as well, getting into the food chain, into us. And I think then other people started wanting this and asking me things like, Sarah, have you got bamboo toothbrushes? Can you do reusable cups, please? I really want to reduce single-use plastics. And so it's kind of grown from that, really. So it's always been a response to the community and what they've needed and wanted in Nottingham. The big thing around this is any of us can jump online and try and get a lot of these products, but there's so much greenwashing that goes on. There's so much kind of messages that are put out there which aren't really ethical, and it's very difficult even reading the reviews. I think some of us, I'm often feel uncertain, are they real reviews? Is this just a bit of a kind of greenwash going on? So the benefit here is that we have a lot of knowledge about the products. I can talk about the supply chain, I know where they've come from. Because I'm interested in sustainability isn't just about the environment, it's also about social issues. So I don't want any of my products to have come from people that are underpaid or undervalued in their work. So that's an important part of it as well. So we've developed a trust between myself and the customers and Bianca, who works here as well, that we can tell the story that everything in this shop is here for a reason. It's been chosen for a reason. And we have good relationships with our suppliers to investigate that supply chain as well. I want to keep growing. I want to keep working with other local makers. So I run pop-ups with other sustainable businesses who are starting out to give them a foothold and allow them to reach a city centre customer base and to link with my customers. We run workshops and things as well. But I must say at the moment it is very, very hard. Around the country, there used to be, I think, about 400 to 500 zero waste shops. I think we're down to 150 or so now. So basically, my big aim really is to keep this shop going with the support of the customers that I have. We've got a really loyal customer base, but because of the cost of living crisis, quite naturally, people are finding it hard to come in and spend as much as they used to, or maybe aren't looking at new products. They'll kind of keep with the products they've got, and the refills that they've got, but perhaps aren't thinking about new things that they could buy. And almost inherent in this business model is that we sell great quality things that will last a long time as well. So at the moment, I've got to say it is very, very difficult. So my big aim is really to keep going and to, keep supporting this community. We've got a big customer base, and we've refilled over 1,900 just liquids with bottles this year, and we haven't even counted the containers for the dry goods that we've refilled. So we do a lot together. We reduce carbon, we reduce energy and resource use. So it's really important. And I think about how many businesses are linked to this business. We're important to the local economy, but also to the economy of other sustainable businesses around the country as well. So we're part of a network, really. So, even for that, I want to keep this shop going as much as I can, but it is hard at the moment. So, if you've got a local zero waste shop, if you're watching this or listening to this, I would urge you to go out and support them, because it's so important, particularly in the climate crisis and the biodiversity crisis that we're in, that we have opportunities like this for people to go and change the way they shop.
If you'd like to find out more about zero waste shops in your area and about reducing single-use plastic where you live, there's a link to helpful information on the Carbon Copy website in the show notes. Our next guest is Chris Common from Nottingham City Council. I chatted to Chris at Shop Zero when I visited earlier this month.
Hi, I'm Chris Common. I'm the Carbon Neutral Policy Manager at Nottingham City Council. In essence, that means I programme manage the delivery of the council and city's ambition to become carbon neutral by 2028. So it's not just about working with the council services, it's about working with the whole city. And that includes people like Sarah and Shop Zero, but also the big institutions in the city like the NHS, the universities, businesses, and everybody in between, and residents, of course, and visitors, workers can all play their part. So that's what I do.
Yeah, so Nottingham is a really, really ambitious city.
If we make it, and that's the big if, but it would be the first UK city in the country to become carbon neutral. Some councils are going for carbon neutrality earlier, but this one is for the whole city by 2028.
Yeah.
So yes, most ambitious, and probably second most ambitious in Europe. We think Copenhagen were going for 2025, but I think they've pushed it back a little bit. But if we get it, we would be second in Europe.
You say if we get it.
Yeah.
How's it going?
Well, speaking about the data, and the data is the story, we know what our city's emissions are every year. We get figures from the government. Basically, the story of that is that the city has reduced its carbon emissions by 50% since 2005, which sounds impressive. So in 2005, the city was producing about 2 million tonnes of carbon a year, and now it's producing roughly 1 million tonnes. Now that sounds all fine, but that means we've got roughly 4 years to get rid of 1 million tonnes of carbon. And that's where it starts to get hard. Do we think we'll make it? I think it's going to be really, really hard, because there's so many factors that could play. We are all about giving people information, encouraging people to do the right thing, if you like, for the right reasons. The health of the city, the health of themselves, and jobs, and all those what are called co-benefits that come from decarbonising the city. We've got a very progressive programme of what's called retrofitting our council properties. So it's basically improving the energy efficiency of the property. So it's insulation, it's new windows, it's new doors, and all those things that will help bring down the energy use of that particular building. And we've done, the last figures I've seen is 7,000 improvements to about 2,000 or 3,000 properties in the city. Now that sounds an awful lot, but bearing in mind there's 150,000 properties in the city, and most of those are in private ownership. The good news is we're doing what we can on our own estate, and that should set an example to the others in the city. We're also decarbonising our fleet. About 50% of those are now what we class as ULEV, so ultra low energy vehicles or electric vehicles. Again, we do an awful lot around transport. Nottingham's got a tradition of being a cycling city, but it was the home of rally for many, many years. And we've got many kilometres of cycle lanes, and we're building more and more. And the thing that is quite exciting, is certainly exciting for me, is that there's going to be a new bridge over the River Trent, which is only for cycling and walking, from government grant. And that's being built and should be open next year, 2025. So there are some good things happening. Everybody knows it's hard, but I think one of the things I was talking to some of our councillors was that they know it's difficult, and they know it's probably something that we're going to miss, but it's about the ambition. It's about pushing ourselves. If we set an ambition for, say, 2035 or 2040 or even 2050, like the government are doing, we can actually sort of relax a bit and go, oh, well, we'll just do this gradually and slowly. By having a target like 2028, it injects a sort of an urgency to the problem, because it is an urgent thing. When we got contacted by the relay, we wanted for it to demonstrate and celebrate our transport network. So and the community involvement. So by visiting schools and getting the relay to be part of the network in terms of, we've got electric bikes. The route we're going to take it along is along the canal, which again is another important walking and cycling route. And then I think demonstrating the fact that Nottingham is a compact city and can be walked around. You don't have to drive around it. We like to think we do try and do things a little bit different here. Maybe it's a little bit of the Robin Hood rebel spirit in us, but that's his fantasy. But there is a sense that we are a little bit, we're not Northerners, we're not Southerners, we're not Midlanders. So we try and think of ourselves doing a bit different. So it's nice to be able to showcase some of that.
The relay team participated in a number of events in Nottingham, meeting the mayor and members of British Triathlon, as well as visiting some local schools to hear about their work around climate and nature. Here's Rohan from the crew telling us more about that.
So today we went to two amazing schools who've been doing loads for the environment, and they were really keen to show off all that they've been doing. One was a primary school, and they had all the different year groups stationed around, showing off a different element of their climate campus. That was Southwold Primary School. And they were showing us, one year showed us about their litter picking that they've done, and another year showed us work that they've done with a festival in Nottingham called the Green Hustle. Well, another year group showed us the making sure that they don't leave food waste and eating all their vegetables, kind of the Eat It to Defeat It campaign. Another one showed us kind of how they're recycling, how they're reusing, how they're making sure that they kind of reuse clothes or do toy swaps. So they were showing all their amazing different ways that they engage in eco stuff, while also showing some incredible posters about all that they're doing. And then after Southwold Primary, we went down to West Bridgeford, and we went to Rushcliffe Spencer Academy, and that's a secondary school, and we met the eco team there, many of whom have been kind of in it from year 7 and now in year 9, and they worked really hard on basically pushing the school and helping the school to become more sustainable, planting 400 trees with the Woodlands Trust, and organising kind of clothes swaps, doing events for Earth Day, which the theme was all about plastic waste and saving the oceans. So they've done fantastic work, and they were awarded last year Eco School of the Year for the whole of the UK because of that work that they've been doing. So it was really nice to visit both of those schools and see a bit of an insight into what schools and what teachers and what students are doing to make their schools more sustainable and kind of have a positive impact on their local community.
Our final guest in this episode is Winter Paralympian Anna Turney. Anna is a passionate advocate for the environment as well as for disability rights, and she chatted to us from the Snowdome in Tamworth, where the relay made its final stop on Monday evening.
Hi, I'm Anna Turney. I'm a 2-time Winter Paralympian, and I'm at the Tamworth Snowdome for practice for the Running Out of Time relay. So I found out about the Running Out of Time relay through the True Athlete project that I volunteer for, which is a global mentoring program for athletes. And I thought, what an amazing project. You know, climate change is real, it's happening, and we have to act now. And what better way to send that message out to the world and to Parliament than to do a relay where so many people are involved. So last year I was part of the relay. We skied down the Ackers snow hill in Birmingham, but today we're actually doing it on real snow. So yeah, I'm really excited for this. So this year we're going to do laps of the Tamworth Snowdome with the baton for the Running Out of Time relay with the SnowBuddies, which is an organisation set up who take disabled people on ski and snowboard holidays and also hire out equipment because it's really expensive to ski with all the expensive adaptive equipment. So SnowBuddies is a charity set up in order to make skiing and snowboarding more accessible financially to people with disabilities. So I'm the ambassador, we hire out equipment and just to do snow holidays at an affordable, at like a normal price, the price it would cost for an able-bodied person to ski. Because if you have a disability, so I'm a sit skier, so I'm riding a sit ski, which is basically a carbon fibre ski on top of a motorbike shock on a single ski without riggers to help with the balance. And basically this costs about £5,000, plus the skis, which are about hundreds of pounds, plus obviously all the clothing and stuff. And then often people with disabilities might need to stay in accessible hotels where there aren't steps in the way or there are larger bathrooms, that sort of thing. So that's what's amazing about SnowBuddies. They check it all out, make it all really simple and easy. So I competed in 2 Winter Paralympic Games, Vancouver 2010, where they had to reschedule all the races because of the weather, because there was just like too much wet snow. They couldn't run the speed races at that point, so they had to change it. And then in Sochi 2014, it was all man-made snow. We didn't have any natural snow. And this is a growing problem. So there's lots of World Cup races that have been cancelled or had to be rescheduled. The seasons are getting smaller because the snow is melting. They just can't run these competitions. I can remember learning about climate change as a primary school pupil 30 years ago and feeling scared. And I don't remember that much from primary, but I remember the fear around that. So it must have impacted me at that point. But I didn't do very much about it until a few years ago, I suppose. When I was an athlete, I was focusing really hard on being an athlete, trying to do my best for Great Britain, and obviously racked up the air miles and all the rest of it. But I haven't been travelling by air. And I think I'm more conscious now. Basically, I heard a talk, an Extinction Rebellion talk, and it really made me stop in my tracks and think we have to act now, and nobody's doing anything. We're all trying to do our bit and everyone's trying to make a difference, but we really need to get the word out to the world and get the big players to do something. So I'm part of Champions for Earth, which is a group of athletes who care about the environment and want to make a difference. I've written some bits and pieces, given quotes as a winter athlete to sort of call out things like big fossil fuel sponsorship of ski races, Paralympics GB, Team GB, and so many sports are sponsored by fossil fuel companies or people who aren't environmentally conscious. And I appreciate they need money and it's a real big challenge, but we need to stop this greenwashing that's happening. If you have accessibility issues and you want to get involved in the relay, talk to Dan, the organiser, because they've made it really easy for me. I just said, these are my needs, and we've worked around it. So I think there's always a way.
Huge thanks to all our guests in today's episode, Dr Sarah Maloy, Chris Common and Anna Turney. The Carbon Copy podcast is presented by me, Isabel Sparrow. Our producer and editor is Bradley Ingham, with additional material recorded by the Relay crew. The Relay continues today in Coventry and we'll be bringing you stories from there in our next episode. Until then, goodbye.